ESPN just got exposed for blatantly twisting the truth about WNBA All-Star Game ratings in a desperate attempt to cover up the brutal fallout from Caitlin Clark's absence. And the cover-up was so sloppy, even their own journalists couldn't stay quiet, publicly calling out the network for pushing a misleading narrative. After the 2025 All-Star Game in Indianapolis suffered a brutal 36% ratings nosedive, from 3.44 million viewers in 2024 down to just 2.2 million. ESPN chose to completely skip over last year's record-setting number. Instead, they compared the game to 2023 to manufacture the illusion of growth that simply didn't exist. If you believe Caitlin Clark is the only superstar in the WNBA, then comment needle mover. Let's go. Yes, you guys heard that correctly. The numbers are in. And just like I told you, there was a boycott. You've got to understand these numbers. They did like 2 million viewers. That's up from 2023, which was a little over 900,000. So technically, it is up. But compared to last year, it fell by 40%. Oh, so now they're going to try to spin it. Okay, it could be the second most watched of all time. Of course, it's going to be that. But compared to last year, you're still down 36%. What makes ESPN's statistical gymnastics even more absurd is where the game was held, right in Caitlin Clark's home arena in Indianapolis. This was supposed to be a WNBA celebration unlike any other. The biggest stage in the league hosted in the city of its biggest star. But instead of a historic triumph, it turned into a ratings disaster so embarrassing that ESPN tried to spin it into a success story through pure deception. They're just skewing data. So it's up 158% compared to 2023? What happened to 2024? Y'all just gonna skip over 2024? That's the disingenuous part. Because for some reason, they have this thing where they want to compare everything without Caitlin. They're like, oh, well, she's an anomaly. So we could compare these numbers to 2023 and show you that without Caitlin, it's growing. This is very similar to the WNBA draft, where they did the same thing, compared it to 2023. The injury that triggered this whole mess happened on July 15th when Clark aggravated a lingering groin issue during Indiana's win over Connecticut. Within hours of her announcement that she'd be sitting out All-Star Weekend, ticket prices imploded, dropping 48%, from $121 down to just $64. And that crash wasn't hypothetical. It was fans saying loud and clear, without Caitlin Clark, we're not interested. This wasn't a small dip or a minor hiccup for the league. This was a full-on economic collapse that laid bare how much the WNBA's fortunes hinge on one 23-year-old superstar. And it's especially jarring considering this has been Clark's most injury-plagued season to date, missing 10 regular season games after going her entire college and rookie career without sitting out once. Can mainstream networks ever be trusted when they've got money tied up in the leagues they cover? So for all the people that thought it wasn't a boycott against this All-Star Game, it was, bro. People were DMing me telling me they weren't going to watch it. People told me they refunded their tickets. I was even supposed to be there, and I decided not to go because of the referees and how the WNBA disrespected Caitlin. 1,250,000 viewers. Woof. Out of existence. No Caitlin Clark? Not tuning in. You don't have to look far to see ESPN's sleight of hand in action. Just take a closer look at how they sculpted their so-called historic rating success. They didn't just omit the 2024 benchmark. They carefully selected data from 2023, a time when Clark hadn't even gone pro yet, and the WNBA was barely registering on the average sports fan's radar. Rather than tell the truth, that ratings dropped by over 1 million people year over year. ESPN chose to plaster their social media and press releases with a misleading stat that 2025 was up 158% from 2 years ago. That wasn't a mistake. That was a deliberate PR move to manipulate the narrative and distract from the damage Clark's absence caused. So all you guys can sit there and say, oh, you're just trying to uplift one player. Oh, the league is more than one. I agree. The league is more than one player. There's more than one good basketball player. But is there more than one player that moves the tide? No. We just have to be honest. It's okay. And what really gives away the game is ESPN's sudden change of tone. All season long, they credited Clark for driving record growth, selling out arenas, and putting the WNBA on the map. But when the All-Star Game tanked without her, Suddenly, it's like no individual player matters. They even tried to pivot attention to Friday night's skills challenge and three-point contest, which pulled in 1.3 million viewers, an 89% jump from last year. But they left out one key detail. Those numbers had everything to do with format tweaks and primetime scheduling, not some magical surge in league interest. That bump had nothing to do with Reese, Wilson, or whoever ESPN tried to prop up, and everything to do with fans still holding out hope that Clark might appear. There are fans that are just Caitlin Clark fans. I said this yesterday. If Caitlin Clark was to leave Indiana and go to New York or any other team, expect a significant drop in Fever viewership. People might tune in for that first season without Caitlin, but after that, it's over with. Plenty of people online were saying, "Yo, Caitlin Clark not playing? Oh, she's hurt? They don't want to call fouls. Okay, I'm not watching." There was plenty of people that boycotted this WNBA All-Star Game. But this fallout wasn't limited to the television screen. Clark's exit from All-Star Weekend triggered a domino effect that hammered every corner of the WNBA's business. From ticketing revenue to merchandise sales to the valuation of sponsorship deals, the market reacted like it had lost its center of gravity. ESPN's smoke and mirrors routine couldn't hide what fans were seeing with their own eyes. That 48% ticket price plunge wasn't just some slight dip. It was a full-on consumer rebellion from people who had paid to watch Caitlin Clark and had no interest in watching anyone else take her place. You can see when Caitlin doesn't play. This happens. And how are we supposed to know that if Caitlin ends up missing a year, that all those fans don't just leave again? They know they need Caitlin Clark to grow this league. Man, it wasn't just about empty seats. Social media turned into a flood of fan cancellations. People publicly posted about scrapping travel plans, offloading tickets, and skipping the broadcast entirely. The WNBA didn't just lose numbers, they lost momentum. And this wasn't some fringe reaction. It was a massive, visible fan boycott that ESPN desperately tried to bury by cooking the numbers. Why? To keep corporate sponsors and advertisers from panicking over what the WNBA looks like without its top attraction. Why not just be honest? Say 2.2 million average viewers, second most watched All-Star Game ever behind 2024. That's fine. You don't even have to say how bad it was. It's a PR page. But instead of being real, ESPN tried to downplay Caitlin Clark and diminish her to the level of others. Why not promote the others alongside Caitlin Clark's greatness? The financial fallout didn't stop at the arena gates. It rippled across Indianapolis. Hotels, restaurants, and retail stores that had banked on Clark-fueled tourism spikes suffered. Many had stocked up on Indiana Fever merchandise for the weekend.